Welcome back to another great Security Halt episode. As always, I'm your host, Danny Caballero. And today I have the pleasure of having an amazing public speaker, champion for leadership, and how we define leadership has come such a long way. And I think today is going to be really insightful for you lucky listeners out. Abigail Manning, thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. I got my power walk in this morning after already working on a new program I'm developing. So I'm feeling good, and I'm super honored to be on your show and for us to have an exciting conversation, I think, and hopefully a helpful conversation to anybody who's listening in.
It's always a treat when I can find somebody that has this new, wonderful, powerful message of what it means to be a real leader and what it means to disrupt the old ideas and really take in new ideas and embrace, the new chapter in life that you get when you transition into the civilian world isn't something that we have to begrudgingly take on or slowly, like we can jump into this knowing that, hey, I was a powerful leader in the military. I just need a few more tools and I'm going to be an amazing leader in the civilian world. So please tell us some more about you, your background, and this amazing ability to help coach guys and gals like myself into being the best version of ourselves when we get into the civilian world.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you. I love that you said tools, because that's exactly what I do. And one of the best tools I do is reframing, right? How do we look at a situation differently? Yeah. How do we look at ourselves differently? How do we empower ourselves, get up and over the obstacles of our lives? So the quick background is my content and what I do, speaking keynotes, as you mentioned, but also workshops and coaching, is based on academic. So there's some intelligence behind it. It's based on my double major of cognitive communication and behavioral sciences. So all of that kind of wrapped up together. And to be honest, Denny, it's really built from the trenches of my own personal life. I came from childhood abuse by both my parents. I've gone through domestic violence. I've been in the pit of PTS. I am dyslexic, but I was severely dyslexic. And instead of being called that, I was called stupid, dumb, lazy, those types of things. And I was a solo parent raising two kids from age 5 and 2. So a lot of the curriculum comes from, not that I'm better than anybody else or I have all the answers, but because I care deeply about the vow that I took when I was 8 years old and standing in my mirror saying, this ends with me. And it took a lifetime to figure out how to do that. I'm very proud of my kids. I did it with my kids. They're both U.S. Marines. My daughter was on Presidential Helicopter Squadron, so HMX-1, she was security. And my son is, thank you. And my son, who was severely dyslexic, who I brainwashed him the opposite way. Like, you're brilliant. You've got this. We're going to do it. Hang in there. It took until high school. And then all of his brilliance clicked with the way that we teach in school. And he's intel, and he was deployed with Marines for 4 years, briefing 300 to 400 Marines at any kind of given time. And now he's with NSA up at cyberspace in Washington, D.C., doing intel work.
That's remarkable.
And I'm so proud of him. And today he's holding down the fort by himself. Like, he's like, I'm going to be so exhausted after this Friday. And so what I did is doors kept opening in the military environment. I believe a lot in tough love. I believe in accountability. I believe in don't put limits on yourself. I believe in respect. I love our country. I believe you do the right thing, and the right thing is always going to be the harder thing. And those were the values that I built my curriculum of Purple Threads, Adverse Spiral, and Things They Do on. And it's taken off. So I've been a speaker at the Air Force Academy's National Symposium on Human Dignity and Respect. I've taught cadets. I coached special operators in their transition that are active duty currently, and how to change your mindset a year or two before you actually are boots on the ground in civilian world. Do it early, people. It takes a lot of work.
It does. It does.
So that's a little bit more about my background. And I'm also a Wounded Warrior Project instructor. I teach a monthly virtual national class called Mindset, Healing, and Empowerment. So I've done that for 2.5 years. So I also weave in a lot of other people's experiences in my conversations and curriculum and work.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing for us. That is That is a lot. I would imagine you've probably read Atomic Habits and know how to cram everything at the right time throughout your day, because that is a lot to shoulder.
I'm embarrassed to say I was gifted that book and it's sitting on my bookcase. Just imagine how much more I could get done once I read it.
Don't worry, I'll edit that out. I'll edit.
Oh, it's okay. No, I love that part. If you want to edit, great. If not, humor is.
Oh, no, I'm joking. Totally joking. That's staying. That is staying in there. Authentic.
That's one of the things I love about military. You guys have the best humor and at the most inappropriate times. And that's when it's perfect.
Oh yeah. It helps the medicine go down, because we'll have amazing discussions like this, but the previous episode, it'll be just a ridiculous, not suitable for work episode with just nothing but military dark humor. And it's what keeps us going. And even though we're on the right side of healing and we've recovered, it's a bond that keeps us together. So we are still very much fans of our kid jokes and our very inappropriate humor, because it's how we survive this crazy machine that is the military. One thing I love about you, and it caught me as soon as I saw it on your website, I always tell our guys, our listeners, that we've learned and been taught how to survive with the absolute bare minimum. We are the greatest survivors out there, but we're not built just to survive. We're built to thrive. Yeah. We are built to thrive. And when I saw that on your website, I was like, oh my goodness, she gets it. Because we constantly look at this transition and leaving the military behind as this great exodus that we're so begrudgingly taking on. It's like, I don't really want to go. Very rarely do you have somebody that's just like, I'm ready to do it. This is my challenge. I'm prepped. I'm so ready for this. Everybody's so deeply connected to service. And the higher you get in that echelon, the higher and the more secretive, the more alluring, and the more of the allure of like being in special operations, and that keeps pulling you back, and you want to stay in that demographic because A, you work so damn hard to get there, and B, it's family, it's your identity. And we just start telling ourselves, I can't do it anymore physically, and mentally it's getting harder, but I can push it. I can survive. I can just survive this. Meanwhile, there's employment opportunities. There's passion, purpose, drive on the other side that's saying, no, you can thrive. You can thrive out here. You can be a leader that people are desperately looking for. You can be that mentor. You can be that coach that people are just waiting to meet, but you're just so hell bent on surviving. And it's like, how do we break that?
Yeah, good question. You mentioned several roadblocks that I help coach, like role versus identity, also imposter syndrome, and my best mission is behind me. There could be nothing as purposeful going in front of me. Those are some of the roadblocks. I'm happy to get into those. But I think before that is the reason I feel it's so hard is the complete change of what you think, say, do. Cognitive communication and behavioral communication, meaning to yourself as well, right? Like, and so what got you successful, kept everybody safe, had mission success, is the exact opposite of what you need on the other side in the civilian world. And it's the we, this is we, and this is me, right? This is give me the facts, give me the data. Got it? Go. This is, how are you feeling? I want to connect with you. I want to understand you. Right. And so I see even easy transitions with, okay, start the conversation with, how is your day going? And the person over here will always say, why? That's not information that helps us. Right. Like there's a whole different thing. And then you push down all the things you grew up with. You push down any fear. You push down any doubt, because those are a liability. Those are going to get you off the team. That's going to get you hurt. Your buddies hurt. You're going to become a liability if you allow those emotions to well up. Well, in the other hand, if you can understand those emotions and you can understand the triggers behind them, then you can have the choice to have power and control over them, right? Versus just shove them down. And that's what happens, is that when you stop going, and it gets really quiet, all of those emotions, all of those past histories and traumas and experiences and doubts and, and I talk about trauma being a small T and a big T, and we list a lot of them. So people go, oh yeah, those flood back.
Yes.
When you're sitting at a stoplight, when you grow up with rejection or abuse or neglect, it's hard to believe that people want you, right? And then you made the team and you're wanted and you're needed and you're here and you're family. And then you go to the civilian world and no one will take your call. No one wants to look at your resume. You walk in and try to interview and you sound like a robot, right? And they don't call you back. They ghost you. They reject you. It triggers all of those different emotions that you maybe haven't dealt with it. And so it's a complete change of how you think, say, do, in order to be successful in a very different culture. But the thing is, like, as you started this off with tools, just get the tools. The first time you were thrown in the swimming pool, you probably sank to the bottom, right? Most of you guys jump out of helicopters and can swim to some ship like 7 miles away. You can do it. It's just new tools.
Yeah, it's so true. We are ill-equipped, and to go back off your touch back on emotions, we're also very ill-informed on the importance of emotion. The entire time we're in, especially in special operations, it's okay. Maybe I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm angry, but then before you know it, anger just becomes a default for everything. It's like, I'm okay. This upset me, so I'm just going to get angry. And it's like, man, like, and that emotional intelligence plays such a huge role in being a functioning adult, but we just bypass that part. We don't acknowledge it. And it's just like, no, I'm a logical human being. I use logic. We never look at it as saying like, oh no, you need logic, you need emotion. Like it's two things. We're not Spock. We're not a robot. We're a human being. And when we bypass the importance of emotion and dealing with anything that may feel a little uncomfortable because you have to bring feelings into it, it's like, nope, I'm just going to go break stuff. It's like, dude, no, you have to evolve. You absolutely have to evolve.
Yeah. And I think it's a mindset, right? Like tooting your horn is really ugly. Like, I'm awful at sales and marketing because I don't like saying, hey, here's my success. Here's what I've done. And I find special operators are the exact same. Well, I haven't done that much. Oh, really? Well, tell me how little you've done. And then there's again, snarky humor. So that is very uncomfortable. And you have to get through the mindset of what I have done has been absolutely significant. And what we do is it becomes a very competitive environment, right? And you must succeed and you must achieve and you must get better and you must, you're surrounded by these amazing, stellar other people. And we tend to think that we're not as good. And that's where imposter syndrome comes in. We think we're just not as good as them. But the interesting thing is when I do my Purple Threads workshop, it's hysterical how many times they'll look at each other and go like, dude, I totally have thought that my entire life. Like, I've never thought you thought that. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not fast enough. I'm too old for this. So-and-so is better. I'm mediocre at everything, but not great at anything. Why am I valuable? You're a Swiss Army knife, man. Everybody wants a Swiss Army knife. Like reframing it in a way that you can then toot your own horn and see how special you are and see how unique you are and see how those skills are transferable. And that takes somebody, I think, from the outside helping translate that language, because like you mentioned, anger is a great tool for getting, your adrenaline pumping, get out there, get the job done. And that's needed. Right. But the other side of anger is sad. And so I find most special operators in particular don't allow the sad side, even if that's how they're predisposed, even that's how you've learned to flip it so much because that kept you alive and safe and strong in getting it done. Right. So it's good. So there's no blame. There's no shame. It's good. That was great. You did great. Now let's have you do great over here. and tap into that. And I ask people to scan their brain. What am I thinking? And there's more than sad and mad, right? Like,
I don't believe you.
And then how's it making me feel? And then I have them scan their bodies. So for example, Denny, like when you get mad, sad, stressed, overwhelmed, where in your body do you feel it?
Oh yeah. Like right through here, heat, the tension on my neck, like fluster in the face. Yeah.
Love it.
But I only know that because I went and I got help. And that's such a powerful thing you bring to them. That is such, like, a body scan is such a foreign concept to us. Like, to linking it to.
You had to shut it down, right? Like, I can't feel sick to my stomach and throw up as I'm starting this. Like, you can't have that, right? You can't have a raging headache. Yeah. You can't have the tension in your neck. You can't. But the body still has that, and it has that memory. It's called somatic. It's locked into your body until you learn how to release it, right?
Yes.
And so I think that's one of the first things people say, and especially in Wounded Warrior, I hear a lot about how I have so much anger. I go from 0 to 10. I'm like, no, you don't. You just don't know the signs of 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
In your throat, in your shoulder, in your neck. Like, those are all warning signs that you have successfully learned how to quiet because you needed to. And so now
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, if we can recognize them, then we have power and control. Then we can address it versus sitting at a stoplight, bursting into tears, wondering why we're bursting into tears. Well, it's because the car behind you is coming up really fast and you've been hit from behind and you've whatever. And it's re-triggering some old trauma and that you haven't like really dealt with. And now your brain doesn't know quite how to process it all. So just learn some tools to process it.
Yeah, that is amazing. I had such a weak connection with my own body. Everything was pain. Everything was just constant pain. Everything's flared up. Everything's pain. And when I started practicing mindfulness, and I think I still remember the first time somebody brought body scan to my attention, and we started practicing going through it, and they're telling me to bring my focus to my feet, and I'm like, my individual toes. I can't do that. Like, that's not a real thing. Nobody does that. And I remember getting really frustrated with the practitioner that's trying to help coach me. I'm like, you mean to tell me you can feel your individual toes? No, I just have a whole mass, like my foot. And it's like, no, dude, like, stop, breathe. And that awareness, that cultivating that awareness of your own body, that blew me away. And until this day, when I bring it up to guys about mindfulness, okay, let's do a quick body scan. Let's sit down, like, scan your toes, and they always look at me and say, well, nah, dude, like, individual toes. Like, no, it's just, you have your toes. Like, that's just it. You just, it's like, oh my God, we're the most disconnected people on earth.
Well, rightly so, right? Like, you have an injury, you still have to run across the desert to evacuate, right? You can't concentrate like, oh, my pinky toe, it hurts. Oh, poor me. I'm going to sit down and wait for someone to carry me. Like, so there's no shame, blame, and judgment of that, right? Like, that's one thing I want, because we tend to be way too hard on ourselves, especially high producing, highly productive, highly successful people. Very, very hard on yourself. Like, I shouldn't even have pain. Yeah. Well, you have a bullet. I've
said that. Somebody of us have said the same thing. Well, it just shouldn't hurt. This shouldn't happen to me.
Yeah. I hear it all the time. And we all think that we're so different. And yet I hear the same things over and over and over. And that's why I like doing group work so that people can look around and say, oh, I thought that was just me. And well, it's not that bad because that guy over there had 7 bullets. I only had 1. It's that whole competitive, in some ways macho, but in other ways, like, not a big deal. And so when I talk about trauma, people are like, my buddy didn't come back. That's trauma. I'm like, yeah, that is trauma. You going to war, is that trauma? You raising your hand and standing and saying the oath as you're this going in, there's trauma there. Like, I've watched it twice with my kids. There's nerves, there's anxiety, there's excitement, there's fear, there's what if I'm not enough, there's, am I going to get hurt? Right. So I think scanning your body is a beautiful way of first finding out your emotions. And I love the thing about your toes. Mine was the first time I was in a yoga class and you're laying down, they tell you to drop your eyeballs into your eye socket. And I started laughing out loud. I'm like, that was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. and then finally, in working on it, it was like, oh, they felt like, I got it. Yeah. And when we can do that, it doesn't sneak up on us and surprise us. And that's the thing, is not to get ambushed by our emotions. And because they've been shoved down for so long, they're going to ambush us and pop up at all these different circumstances where you think, am I crazy? So the moment you start feeling like, I am crazy, what is wrong with me? I used to be strong. Those are all very, very normal thoughts for people who are going through any kind of change, any kind of transition. I see it from executives who go to like the owner of the company or the CEO or something. They feel that way. I see it from special operators transitioning out. I see it from cadets just learning. I'm never going to be a good leader. I'm like, you're here to learn. Like, pump the brakes. You know,
it's phase one, guy. Come on.
Yeah, you got 3 more years of classes. You know,
so true.
The thing is, if you feel like you're having a breakdown, it's okay. It is normal. It's to be expected. Hang with it. You're tough. You're strong. You're resilient. Contact your buddies. You can't do this alone. And that breakdown can actually get you through the breakthrough to the other side. Because if you say, I don't want to be here, I want to do better, I want to be smarter, I don't want to feel crazy, I want to know why I feel crazy. Because when we can identify why we feel crazy, those are what I call purple threads, which are limiting, I think PT, right? Purple threads. And purple, because purple is the color of courage, and it takes courage to look within. And I always think in the military of a purple heart, right? Like a lot of courage and honor. So do that for yourself. And purple threads are limiting personal thoughts connected to past traumas that become physiologically tied to what we think, say, and do. So if you're coming out with anger, and a lot of people in transition, especially when they come home, their marriages really suffer because they don't know where to put all that stuff. And it comes out everywhere, all over, inside the house, the people they love the most. And it's just coming out. So if we can learn what your purple threads are, you can rewire them. You can choose to remove them. And that's some of the things they do, skills I teach, like EFT, and you said mindfulness. And I loved the thing she was doing in the mindfulness about your head to your toes, where they want you to get out of your head and into your feet. So a lot of us that are athletic, special operators are all very athletic. Get out of your head. The moment you start thinking, I'm crazy, I'm dumb, I'm not going to make it, my skills aren't transferable, no one really wants me, I'm great at giving orders, but I'm not really, blah, 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 blah. Go for a run, get in your feet. And for me, I had to do triathlons for a long time to get this to be quiet, my brain, my thinking, and I had to get in my feet. So I have to do like endurance sports. And I do like long hiking here in Colorado, right? So that a lot of times too, if you're doing heavy weight, there's science behind heavy weight, going and lifting. I love lifting. And so, right. So get out of your head and into your feet when you start having those self-doubts.
Yeah. That's something that is so connected to us, because that's often the only time where we find relief before we get help, before we start doing the work. We find a little bit of respite going to the gym or doing the physical work. And that becomes everybody's temple, everybody's place of like worship. Is just, I just need to go work out. And that's like the only tool. That's the only positive tool. But it can't help you when you come home and now you're bringing all that trauma, all that stress, and it just permeates out into your family. It's like, it's a toxic thing. And I wish more people would understand that it does come off and it does affect your wife. It affects your kids. And you have to take that action. You have to really look at it as part of being a good leader, but just to take care of yourself, to be willing to do the hard work. if we're willing to go into the unknown, we're willing to go do the most dangerous stuff, we should be willing to go sit down in front of a therapist and talk.
Yeah. And maybe
it's
not.
only scary for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe not. I'm a huge advocate. I've done so much research on different healing modalities, right? And so verbal processing, I love verbal processing. It helps me think. So I'm trying to come up with a new concept. I'll even just stare at a chair like I'm having a conversation with somebody. So maybe talk therapy is for you. And if it's not, that's okay.
That's okay.
I have hundreds of different modalities that I recommend to people. Like, I think one of the best ones is breathing, learning some breathing techniques. So let me back up one step. Yeah, right? So to me, a battle plan, right? You have a battle plan. You don't just say, okay, everybody, we're going to wing it and see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone someday did that and they're like, yeah, we're not doing that again. And they're like, what is the saying about all good plans die upon contact or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
but at least you have a plan, right?
Yep.
So have a personal battle plan. So if you know that you are grumpy or you are angry or you are kind of all over the board, have a battle plan that you say, if, for example, if you're married and you get up, you tell your wife, you know, I love you and I'm going to go do my battle plan. Go hit the gym, get outside, get vitamin D, get in Mother Earth, nature. It is a huge grounding. The energy that comes out of the earth itself, even if you can be barefoot and stand in the ground, walking on the beach barefoot, there's science, neurological science, and how that can help your brain. Do the basics. Make sure you get enough sleep. Make sure you're getting enough water, hydration. Make sure you're getting adequate, good quality food. Not MREs, right? Like you're eating actual good salad, fresh vegetables.
Yeah.
And have your battle plan on what you're going to do. And then have the scan where you say, and how am I doing? And be authentic with yourself and have someone you can go to. If it's a therapist, here's something that's interesting. I tell special operators that are married, in a report that I saw, 80% of their spouses have high anxiety about finances.
Yep.
And then you don't talk about it. Or if you do, you're like, I'm on it, I'm working. And then you feel shame, blame, like,
so true.
No one's returning my phone call. I can't even get a job. I'm going to have to get an internship at no pay. And then how are we going to pay our mortgage? Right?
That's all of us. Every single one of us. Yeah. That is one of the most common threads. It's, hey, I need you to transfer this, or I need you to put this in this account. Immediately anxiety. Well, yeah, I'll do it. It's done. And it's like constantly reminding you. And it's such a huge issue for every military couple, finances. And we expect our spouse to be our financial manager, to be the person that takes care of the house, takes care of the bills. Yet the moment they bring anything up with finances, it's like, oh God, I don't want to talk about it. It's like you're literally relying on your wife to take care of all your finances. Pay attention.
Yeah.
Like I can't explain. It's just something I don't know why it's such a huge issue for all the guys. But one of the best things that I came to realize was, your spouse is your teammate. That is somebody that is with you on the same team. And it's okay to acknowledge, like, hey, you're better at money. Teach me how to be better with my finance. Tell me rules and guidelines. What do I need to do? And have a spreadsheet. Like, God forbid you come home and you take a little bit of time to get on the same sheet of music with your wife on finances. It's so easy. And what it boiled down for me was removing the unknown factors. I hate math. I hate numbers. My wife is an amazing statistician. She's a math guru. She's a whiz, and she loves Excel. So she was able to break everything down to me. She's like, you know what? Like, you just put the money there and I will put it to work. And that's some of the easiest things we can all do, is just admit that maybe our wives are brilliant and better suited at the finance game for us. And so once you realize that it's okay to not be the primary on everything, and hey, you have a great quarterback at home, let her be your Aaron Rodgers. Let her be your John Elway when it comes to finances. And then take a step back and learn from her. Read the books that she recommends.
I love it. I love it. And so for me, I want to look at the thinking of, and most special operators, as we know, right, are men. So at what the guy is thinking, and the guy is thinking, I'm a provider. I'm a provider and I'm a protector. And two of the biggest things we can do is financial. Like that's kind of a cultural expectation that we have, right? Men provide. I mean, women provide too. Look at me. I provided 100% of the finances for my children, but I'm just being in this category here, right? So like, it's vulnerable to say, I'm supposed to be the provider and I am failing. I'm not bringing in any money. I don't even know what kind of money I could bring in. And so then you feel shame. So instead of feeling the vulnerability of like, okay, this is normal to feel this way. And then the shame, we don't use all that word, right? So then we go to anger and we either like project it onto somebody else or we put it into ourselves and then we self-medicate and we withdraw, we self-isolate, we drink too much. Maybe we even do the exact opposite. We're like, oh, I'm going to gamble the money and then I'm going to come back because I'm really good at, blackjack or poker or something. And then you lose more. And this is vicious cycle. And I love that you said one, identify your own thoughts about money, identify your own thoughts about being a provider. What is a provider? Is a provider financial or is a provider like you can count on me? I will not let us down. I'm not exactly sure how much money we're going to have. We're going to like tighten our belt a little bit. We're not going to go out to eat as much, but it's temporary. It's part of our plan. And there's no shame in that. I've done a great job for a super long time. And now I'm transitioning and the money is just going to do a little bit of a dip here for who knows how long, but we're smart and we're great. And we're going to get through this. And then secondly, look at the other person. Like you said, your wife is fabulous at finances and spreadsheets and Excel. I panic when I look at numbers, being like dyslexic, like a 9 becomes a 6, becomes a B, becomes a D. Like, I'm like, I can add 5 numbers and get 5 different answers, 5 different things. Like it's so much, it's just not worth it. So look at your partner and say, did they grow up in poverty? Then they probably have some purple threads over scarcity, over not enough money, over not having food in the pantry. Are they dyslexic? Am I asking my dyslexic spouse to do the thing that brings the most anxiety in her world? And if so, that's not okay. I mean, maybe we both get QuickBooks and we look at it, or maybe we get that book, or maybe we hire someone to come in, but we are a team. And I love that you said that we're a team and use each other's skill sets. Like when I said the person's a Swiss Army knife, and on your teams, you had people who are really, really good at specific jobs. Do the same thing in your marriage.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the big thing for me to realize was I've got a better team at home that's going to always be there. Like when you plan for transition, as soon as you shift the focus to your family as being like your number one, it's so much easier. We get so caught up with the identity piece being always on the guys in the team room, the company, the battalion, the group. Oh, they need me. I got to be there for them. It's like, or shift the focus over to your family and realize that, they're pretty damn cool too. Like they're pretty awesome. Like your wife, she's going to be there a lot longer for you. Even when you get gray, you can't run and you can't do PT as good as you used to. She's going to be there. So shift that priority and focus on your family and realize that your transition is not only about you, it's about providing a better life, one that you're able to be there. There's so many times I've seen countless teammates have to sacrifice being at the softball games, being there for their daughter, for the graduation. It's like, man, like when it's time, be okay with it and be happy and look at what you're gaining, not so much what you're losing. Because a military and team life, it's a cycle. Teammates are going to come and they're going to go. So don't put all the emphasis on that life. Think about what it means to have a reliable schedule when you're going to be there for your kids' games, where your wife can say, hey, I want to take a couple days off, have a girls' weekend, you stay home, because for the last 15, 20 years, you've been going on deployments and I've just been doing this by myself.
Yeah. And Denny, you bring up a good point about the kids games. And and I think if you know what's coming, you can slow down how fast it's coming at you. Right. And that's why you guys train and practice over and over and over and over. So you can anticipate what's coming. Right. So the same thing with this, if people can anticipate, like when you get home, the grief and the loss of leaving the teams, that goes both ways. And we could talk for that. But what I want to talk about is the grief and the loss over your family. So when you're sitting there at the game and everyone knows your kid and your kid has a nickname and you didn't even know your kid had a nickname and so-and-so is doing this and like, oh, he always does that. And you don't know. There's grief and loss over things that you cannot get back. And you start second guessing yourself. Did I do the right thing? Did I really accomplish that much in my life and in my mission? And look what I gave up. And so instead of allowing those emotions to come in and feel them and allowing to release them in some of the different modalities that, I'm sure you share on your show, and we've already talked about some, you can easily turn that into anger. You don't want to look stupid. You don't want to look like you didn't know the coach's name. You don't want to look all that stuff. So we put on this mask of tough, strong. This is what got me successful, is that aggressive, anger, walled, whatever. Oh yeah. Plow right through it versus, and that's not really helping us in the long run. And it's not helping us win any brownie points with our partners and with our kids. That vulnerability that I've missed so much, and I hope I can make up for it. It helps the kid and the spouse lose their grief and loss as well. Like, saying a couple words like that, like of appreciation, of gratitude, of I feel so sad over what I have not seen, helps the child then as well be like, oh, dad, it's okay. You were off doing great. Like gives them permission to feel the grief and loss and then let it go. And be like, yeah, I would have loved for you to be at the championship game last year, but you'll be there now. Right. And then you can move forward without carrying that grief and that loss.
That is absolutely profound, because that's every guy with a family in SOF is dealing with that. And that communication, having that open discussion, that is something that a lot of them just don't know how to breach that subject. It's just because it goes back into the feelings and the emotions piece.
That icky, I feel sad, I feel guilty, I feel like, ugh, right?
It's like we're all Irish and we're all, nope, we're just gonna shove it deep down, never talk about it. Nope. We're just nope, doesn't happen here.
So you can also write a letter. I also have done this with people where I'm like, if it's too hard, start a journal, especially for kids. I love doing this, especially if you have angry teenage kids. So you start a journal and you write what you feel, because some people can do that better. Some people leave voice text messages, right? Some people can't do the eye contact. They can't it's too much emotion at first. So I recommend writing in a journal what you want to say and being able to write, will you forgive me? It's a really hard thing to say. And it gives some power to a child to then learn to make the decision if I'm going to forgive him or not. Like, I didn't know I was so angry, Dad, with you, because you weren't there. Like the kids take it personally, right? They take it personally. So there's some angst in them. And then when you can just be clear and calm and open about it, it's beautiful what it can open up, but it's really scary. And it's hard for you guys to be put yourself in scary positions, especially when you're like, this is emotional versus, I'd rather do all these physical scary things. This emotional, scary stuff, I'm not trained. I haven't been trained. I haven't done that for 20 some years. Yeah,
that is so true. It's a lot easier to take on a physical challenge than it is to sit in the space, especially by ourselves too. That's the crazy part. The lack of self-compassion within the community. You're not aware of it. You just, because it's all around you. The way we talk about ourselves, the way we interact, you give the power to everybody else. Hey, you guys did a great job on that run. Great job. The whole team did great. I sucked. I was barely, I wouldn't say that I was even like passing in that last run and training. I'll do some stuff to work on it. And it's like, gosh, man, like, dude, like, you're a great dude, but like you and we just can't say anything good about ourselves.
Why is that, Denny? I hear this all the time. Why? And like, why in your community do you think, like?
Well, I know now being on the other side, self-compassion is such a hard thing because we are constantly looking to do better for others. We're constantly looking to be the one that's there to help others. And when it comes to us, we know that the only way we can get better is if we identify and critique the hell out of ourselves. Because that's all military service is AAR. When they do your NCOER, OER, it's always about what you need to improve. It's always about what you need to do to get better. And if you've already started as a deficit coming from an abusive, bad background where you were always told like you're never going to amount to anything. You're a beast of burden. The only thing you're good for is cutting the lawn, doing manual labor. Stop looking at airplanes. You're never going to be a pilot. You're stupid. You got glasses. It's like, okay. And you internalize all that. And that just stays with you. And every time you get better and you dare to dream and you want to do something in the military and you're like, well, I'll try it. A true story. I remember sitting with my good friend, Vinny Ventrice, at selection. Every morning we'd stand up, line up, and we'd look at each other. I was like, I ain't going to make it. Yeah, they're not going to select me. Yeah, no one's going to select us. Every single day you wake up, you go look at the whiteboard. Here's what you got to go do. And you go do it. We'd meet up again. We'd eat our MRE while it's raining, just miserable, cold and sad. And we'd be like, yeah, man, I ain't going to make it. Yeah, I didn't do so well in this last thing. We ain't going to make it. And then you both get selected. Like, oh, we made it. Yeah, but I'm not going to make the next phase. And then you make the next phase and you continue going. And before you know it, Vinny's still enlisted. He's still in the military. I think he's about to become a first sergeant by now, E8. And I guarantee to this day, Vinny, if you're listening, I guarantee this is you every single day. Well, someday they're going to figure out that I'm not good enough and they're going to kick me out. It's like, at what point do we say that we are good, that we are wonderful individuals? We've overcome so much. And I'll tell you that process didn't even come for me until I was already well on my way out of the military. And I realized like, holy shit, I'm a wonderful human being. I've got scars and I've went through so much, but deep down, I know I've done great things for others. I've done great things. I've accomplished so many great things and I'm a good dude. I'm a good human being, but just this, not a year ago, that wouldn't be me. It's like, you're a piece of shit, dude. It's all of us have that problem with self-compassion because we're always looking at what we can do better, fix so that we can be a better tool or a better savior for somebody else. It's so weird.
So it's interesting to me. The do better is a driving force. And a lot of that comes from the purple threads, the past traumas. Like the same thing, like you're never going to be good enough. That was a fluke. Your victory was a fluke. And so, that there's a lot of that in us that we rise and shine to prove that we're not, to overcome that, to show somebody wrong. But I can't even imagine how much more successful I would have been throughout my entire life, especially raising two kids, if I hadn't had that garbage ruminating in the back of my head constantly. Right. So like I get to go good fight win. I get the, you blank Denny, like get your ass up there, oh yeah, I get that. And I think if we had a firm foundation of how amazing we are and stellar we are, and we can do this, and I can do this, and I am creative, and I am tough, and I am talented, and I'm kind, and I'm resilient, and I've got this, and then be able to funnel my energy towards one of those versus constantly kind of fighting the stress and fighting the anxiety. And I mean, that's exhausting to get up every day and feel like I'm not doing enough for my kids when I was doing a stellar job for my kids, but it was never good enough. It was never enough attention and time, right? Like if I was at work, the company, I had a second company when I was there, like that I started as an entrepreneur. When I was there, I felt guilty about not being with my kids. When I was with my kids, I felt guilty about, oh my goodness, if I could have lost that garbage and that wasted energy, I think it would have really helped everybody around me, especially my kids. And then the other thing you said about being better is it in the Army, AAR?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the Air Force, it's a hot wash, right? One of the things that I would like to do is help people do that, because I think critiquing is good, but it can also become almost an obsession about always looking for the bad and the wrong. And that's where our brain goes.
Yes.
We look for the bad. And then when we're over here in the civilian world, we're looking for the bad and we're doing confirmation bias, where we're seeing it, hearing it, finding it. We build a neurological pathway between anything that happens and this, I'm not good enough, I'm never going to make it, and your friend who's still in that may have that highway. And what we want to do is we want to build little off ramps, and we want to build neuroplasticity in our brain. It's there for us for a reason, to build other avenues that we can go down. We don't have just one highway of I'm worthless, I'm not good enough, I'm never going to make it. We have all these other avenues that we can use and we strengthen about, I don't know how I'm going to fix this, but man, there are always 3 solutions to every problem, even if I can't think of one right now, because I know I'm creative, I know I'm hardworking, I know I'm a protector, and I know I don't quit. I don't quit. I will pop back up if there's a bullet, not me, but if there's a bullet in my leg, a broken leg. Yeah, I did. I had a broken leg for a long time, and my ex-husband wouldn't let me go to get it checked. It was black and blue from my knee to my ankle. Mm-hmm. He told me I was a wuss. He told me to suck it up, that he had had worse injuries, all this other kind of stuff. And finally, I was at a party, and a friend who's emergency room nurse took one look at me. He's like, everyone's going to watch our kids. We're going to the hospital. And it turned out because he had canceled our insurance to use that money to go gambling. So as a lifelong athlete and 2 young kids, he was willing to risk. I had broken the bone, rotated it, and torn ligaments. And yeah, so we have the choice if we're going to let that hold us back, or if we're going to have the choice of moving forward, right? And being like, I'm not going to buy that. I'm worthy to see a doctor. Like, I was so brainwashed as a kid that I actually believed it. Like, I was being a loser. I was being a wimp. I was being lazy. Talk about head trash. You can look down and see my leg is like black and blue. It's like, you know.
I completely relate to that. But I grew up the same way. I had the same sort of chaotic childhood where it's just like, whatever. What if you're injured, like, too bad. Like, I'm not going to spend money to get you taken care of. Like being told that as a child just stayed with me till this day. It's like, I should go to the doctor. I should definitely go to the doctor. This is a really bad infection. I have to go get this taken care of. Not just sit there. And my wife is great about it, because she'll see that I've been injured, or like I had a infection that had to get lanced like a while back, and she could see it in my eyes. She's like, "You're not. Go to the hospital. Go to the hospital." It's like, well, no, it's fine. It'll do its thing, and I can take it. It's like, no, dude. You're a grown man.
Yeah.
You have an injury. Go to the doctor. Like,
so that then is part of your battle plan. So imagine if you didn't have a wife at home. Imagine if you were a single guy. Imagine if you're going through a divorce. Imagine if you'd never been married. Imagine like whatever. And you're sitting there by yourself, and you're not keeping your battle buddies, your 3 bridges, right? Like, we believe that stuff. And our battle plan should be, I see the doctor whenever I'm injured. I deserve to be able to go and do something like chiropractic, get a massage. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, when's the last time you had a massage? I'm like, oh, I don't need a massage. I'm like, really? you don't, when's the last time you sat in a hot tub and just quieted your mind and let your body, or an Epsom salt soak bath, right? To relieve some of the lactic acid built up in your body. I don't need that. Like, that is not following a healthy, smart battle plan. So maybe what you and I need to start is where you have to report your battle plan to somebody else about that icky word, self-care.
It's so vital. It's a vital part of taking care of yourself. And for decades, for years, we just go on about it, because we tend to think of self-care as, well, it's a battle drill. If I get injured, I have a medic. They'll be able to patch me up. And it's like, no. That's That's a combat injury. That's combat trauma. You've been shot or something happened. Self-care is taking care of yourself. It's a multitude of things, from hobbies to being able to take some time off for yourself, doing a mental vacation. Like, there's a lot to it, man. It's not thinking about what you would do in case of a physical injury.
I love that. And in fact, I don't like the word self-care because it sounds too, what's the word I want to say? Like, I want to say girly, but then I'm probably going to offend people.
No, it's okay. In this podcast, you don't have to worry about that.
Okay. It sounds too like, like, I think you know where I'm going. So I'd rather put that money, like, instead of getting my nails done, I can make a donation to an organization, or I can do something else, or blah, blah, blah. But I really can feel all the tension run out of my body when I get my nails done. It's quiet, it's calm, and you're getting a hands massage, and someone is taking care of me versus me taking care of someone else. I think that's a mental gymnastics flip of protectors protect others. We don't, and provide for others. And we don't really allow people to protect and provide for us very well.
Yes.
And so then we fight our partner, you fight your spouse, like, I don't need that. And clearly you do. And they're like, well, honey, don't you know I don't need it, right? So I call it self-commitment. So instead of self-care, it's self-commitment. Because when I'm committed to something, I sign up for a race, I will train for it. I will not plan a podcast so that I can make sure I get my training in. So I will say no to something so I can say yes to me. So self-commitment is a big mental mindset flip for me over self-care, because I don't do self-care. Not very well.
Oh my goodness. This has been such a great discussion. Before I let you go about your day in beautiful Colorado, I would imagine, it's probably not snowing there anymore. It's probably,
oh no. Oh yeah. No, we're still, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's been a long time. I grew up in, the Windsor area in northern, Colorado, but, it's been a minute since I've been home. But man, if you could give us your top 5, or if we have time for a top 10, your top 10 things to do before you leave the military, say that. And I always tell guys, take your 2 years, take 2 years time before you leave.
Yes.
Take 2 years prior to your exit and start doing the work. What are your top 10 recommended pro tips?
I'm writing for a second.
You're good.
Okay. Number 1, I got 5. So number 1 is timeline. Like you said, everyone says the same thing. And then what I have found from my own friends in the military is that everyone wants you to get in, and you have someone who carries you in, signs your documents, submits your documents for you. And the moment you say, peace out, I'm done, you are cold turkey, cut off. You have to get through all of the different things by yourself, all the forms. You have to go to building XYZ that's not even on a map, right? And you have to have this person sign off before that person can sign off, and that person's out sick, and this person says I can't sign because that person has it. It's a logistical nightmare for some of the different branches. So there's a lot of emotion you're going through, and then there's a lot of ridiculous jumping through hoops, and there tends to be a lot of anger flare-ups then, because you feel like the door is slamming you and you're behind, and you're like, all the stuff I've done, and you won't even sign a piece of paper, and you're treating me like garbage. Like, so that can happen. So it's not always, but it happens enough times that I hear about it often that it leaves a sour taste in people's mouth. And I don't want that. You are noble, heroic, amazing Americans who have done a remarkable, stellar job to a grateful nation. And so give yourself the grace and space and the timeline of really backing it up, like 2 years, at least 18 months for your game plan, because there's a lot of emotional hurdles you have to get through. There's a lot, and that's number 1. Number 2 is find an organization. I think you came from the Honor Foundation.
Yep.
Yep. So I've done cups of coffee with the Honor Foundation. I also know SOTIF, Special Operator Transition Foundation. Anyone can contact me if they want a personal introduction to the leadership there. They are phenomenal. There's a bunch of different organizations that want to help, and they're usually almost always completely free. So don't use that financial thing as I can't do it. It will cost me money. So find one of them and sign up for it. And a lot of times the hiccup there is, well, someone else will need it more than me. No. If you have served, you qualify, get in line, get the reward, get the Grateful Nation payback from people like, me and other organizations. Number 3 would be have your battle plan, your personal battle plan on what you want. And what does success look like for you? So you're a high achiever. You assume you have to go and high achieve, keep the bar, rising. Maybe that's not it. Maybe you, like you said, hobbies. You have a hobby that you love, that you'd love. There's a guy in Montana or Wyoming who started making belt buckles. I can't remember his name. His video went viral. He's done phenomenal. He started a company. That was his PTS recovery program, is to go out in the middle of nowhere and start making belts.
Yep.
And so, think about what's going to bring you joy. Again, tap into that emotion. Like, what's going to bring me joy? What's going to bring me happiness? You've done a lot of mission-driven purpose. Like, that will still be there. Now it's time for you to have some fun too. 3 bridges would be my number 4. That you need 3 people. If you're an island, you need 3 people if the island's burning that you can go to. And so if you're scared about finances, and we talked about the financial, the wife is one bridge. Don't go to her. Go to 2 other people. If one of the other bridges is deployed, you can't go to him. So you need a 3rd, right? So 3 bridges. Number 5 would be the purple threads. I'm a huge advocate because I've seen how quickly people can remove those limiting thoughts. They recognize it. So do some purple thread work on recognizing what your limiting personal thought is. And asking, is this truth? Or is this a story I've believed in so long that I believed I was this? I believed I was not good enough. I believed I was stupid. I believed I was unlikable, right? I believed I was a piece of trash unless I was achieving. So I'm going to stop at 5 because I gave more of a description, and I'm going to say, if there's more time, you can give the last 5.
Perfect. I will leave you guys with my top 3 real quick. When you transition, the first thing you need to do is start in that timeline. But the first thing you need to start doing is addressing your mental health issues before you leave. The 2-year mark. If you're the person like me that waited your entire military career until you had a crisis to get help, start getting help now before you leave. It's vastly easier to get access to care while you're still in. So do it now. And then number 2, pour some time into yourself. Start figuring out what you like. Start building your own identity. I didn't know anything about hobbies, and look at me. I'm growing orchids now. I'm constantly reading. I'm constantly writing. Like, right behind me are all of those are going to bloom again. I've got 3 that just rebloomed. That's all my hard work, but look at me. I'm doing it. I'm growing things. And number 3, when you're clearing, I can't stress this enough. When you're clearing and there is a person that isn't in their office, but they have a name placard and they have all their information, how to get a hold of them, just write out their name on the signature block and then give it your best Herbie Hancock attempt at forging that signature and go about your day. Because let me tell you, folks, I cleared in one day. In one single day. And everybody kept asking me, hey, you don't have your orders here. You don't have any information. I just kept saying, it's a new process. I don't know. And they just let me sign out. They let me go through. Everything did get done, but it got done on my time. That was my last thing, my last gift to myself. I'm going to go out on my time. And if I want to clear in one day, well, damn it, I'm going to clear in one day. So with that being said, Abigail, thank you so much for being here with us. I really appreciate your time. And I know it's the most valuable resource. And for you to have just been able to give us an entire hour, That means the world to me and to our audience. I can't thank you enough for what you do on behalf of veterans, working with Wounded Warrior Foundation, working with the Honor Foundation, and just being able to pour back into us. Because when I think of strength and resilience, it's no longer the Green Beret running into the wilds of Afghanistan. That thought has been reformatted into what I now know as the single strongest and most powerful person on earth. The single mom that is desperately trying to keep the world together for her kids. I always tell my guys when I was on the team, but you know what? The chief is the single mom. I'm just trying to keep all you crazy bastards alive, trying to get you to point A to point B. And that's the single strongest individual on earth, the single mom and a grizzly bear, because you don't come between a grizzly bear and her cubs. So thank you for being our grizzly bear and our single mom, taking care of all of us individuals in the soft community. Thank you so much.
I love how you just described that. I am so happy, and I do truly care. And I am a mama bear. You don't mess with my kids, right? And so on that note, I do truly care. So please reach out to me. And I'm here for you. I care about you. I never served. I'm a civilian. So let me do some service for my country, please. And if I can be of service to you, reach out. And I'm happy to get you resources. I'm happy to spend my time listening or sharing some ideas or anything like that. You are not alone. You are cared for. You are loved. You are important. You are needed. And I can't wait to see the success. The special operators are just such a neat community, and the success they bring to the civilian world is amazing. And thank you, Denny, for being exactly one of those.
Absolutely. Thank you. And if you guys are listening to this episode and want to know where you can find out more about Abigail, just head on over to where you got this podcast, look at the episode description, and there's going to be a link to her website. So then you can go and reach out to her personally for a cup of coffee, or just reach out to her because you want to figure out how you can best prepare for your transition. From all of us here at Security Halt, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time. But wait, we're not done yet, guys. We need your help to raise $10,000 in order to help our great friend Tim Molesky save his forge. That's right. Go to the episode right now and click the link to GoFundMe and go donate some money. I love you.